everybody. I'm Dr. Leslie Blevins, and thank you for watching my very first live video. So today we're talking about the afternoon transition for kids as they are coming home from school, and I'm super excited to talk with you. The target audience today is parents, and we're mostly talking about our younger kids in elementary school, although some of this information will likely apply to the older kids in middle school and high school as well. I do want you to know that all of this information is just educational, because I'm not your psychologist and I'm not your kid's psychologist. And so if you do have a psychologist, make sure you're listening to them. And if your kid has a diagnosis, make sure that you're seeking treatment. And again, this is just educational. So let's get started. So I want you first to just kind of think through what is that ideal transition? Whenever you first got a kid, what did you imagine that relationship would look like? Did you think that you'd be driving home in the car and they would just light up and answer all of your questions and tell you what they ate and who they played with and what Miss Julie taught them that day? I bet it doesn't go that way. I bet that they answer with one word, and I bet they sit in the back seat and they're really training you to not have that conversation with them. And I bet that you've been taught to warn them on the transitions that are coming up. So for some of you guys, you might actually kind of give them a heads up about what's coming. So, okay, little Billy, whenever we get home, we're going to have a quick snack, and then we're going to start our homework. And then whenever you're done with your homework, you can play. And so maybe little Billy immediately is starting to get frustrated, and he's telling you no. And that's really not the relationship that you imagined. You really wanted little Billy to say, yeah, Mom, of course I'm going to do my homework whenever we get home. I really learned my multiplication tables today, and I am super excited to use those in long division. Woo woo! I bet that didn't happen. And so what we're seeing in these transitions from school to home is maybe some buildup of frustration, not just for little Billy, but also for you. And so what I want us to kind of talk through today is, what is that underlying value that you have as a mom or as a dad? And what are you getting frustrated from? Because you can only get frustrated, or you can only have that sense of fear perhaps once you are home and you're seeing your child struggle through homework, or you're seeing your child really push back against doing home chores or getting through the nighttime routine, because you have a value that is being pushed against. And so I want you to really think through that piece, because I can't tell you what that is. For many people, they want their child to be learning new skills and learning new responsibilities and becoming independent. For some people, it's multiple things. Maybe they want their child to be learning more academic tasks and growing intellectually. For some people, they want the relationship to really be growing. They want to have that back and forth conversation. They want to have insight into their child's life, and for their child to show interest in a variety of activities and show interest into their own life. There's really no wrong answer here. The important thing is that you have value that you really want to instill in your child's life. And we can build on that, because that's what's giving you the fear, the frustration, or the irritability, or even, let's just say it, the anger. And that might lead to some of these behaviors that we're seeing on your part in the car, or even once you get home, giving the warnings and giving the counts to 3, or giving the if-thens. First you got to do your homework, and then you get to go play, right? Because you really, really want the best for little Billy, and that's great. But I also want us to think through what's going on for little Billy. Now again, little disclaimer here, we're not talking about children that have a significant disability or a big diagnosis, because sometimes we do have to think about special considerations and work through and problem solve. This is just in general, and I want you to always listen to your primary care provider before you listen to a video on Facebook. Okay, let's do that. But I want you to really think about what's happening for little Billy whenever you're in the car ride home. So likely they've been given a lot of commands and asked a lot of questions throughout the day. They've been using their attention, and they've been really monitoring their body. They've been on their best behavior as well as they can all throughout the day. That takes a lot of energy, and they're tired. And for our kids that are still learning and might be a little bit behind in some of these skills, or for the kids who just don't do very well in certain academic areas, this is especially draining, and they might not feel very good about themselves. And so whenever they step in the car on the ride home to be asked questions about the day, might be a little bit much for them. It might actually just kind of prolong the stress of what they've been going through. And then to transition, right, to give them warnings about what they're going to do when they get home, whether it's homework or whether it's the nighttime routine, which often includes chores or activities they don't like doing, that again is just reminding them that the drudgery goes on and on. To help us relate as adults, I want you to imagine that you are driving to work in the morning and your boss calls you on the cell phone and says, okay, all right, Leslie, I'm going to help you transition into work this morning, and let's talk about what you're going to do today. As soon as you sit down at your desk, I want you to turn on the computer. Make sure you turn it on as soon as you sit down, okay? I don't want you to take any deep breaths. I don't want you to get your coffee ready. I don't want you to get your chair adjusted and make sure you're nice and comfortable, okay? Because that would be delaying. I really want you to just get your computer on, immediately start returning voicemails, immediately start scheduling patients. What does that do to me? Gosh, I start to feel overwhelmed. I start to really want to avoid my boss. So maybe think through that for a second and be like, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me get little Billy on board with doing the nighttime routine, getting his homework done. And so let's get to the part where maybe we can help little Billy and even you to start feeling better and to start really moving towards your values for your family. What I'm going to ask you to do is to just do an experiment for the next week. I mean, it's the first week of school here in Spokane, and so let's try an experiment, and I don't want you to give those warnings of transition on the way home. I want you to instead give lots of praise for the characteristics, the qualities inside little Billy that you cherish and that you want to grow in him as he's growing up. And I want you to really identify those as he might mention anything that happened at school. I mean, it's the first week of school, so he's probably going to mention something, right? So I really want you to just hone in on him and make him super enthusiastic. And then, as you get home, I want you to really think about if your value is, let's say, for instance, to have an open dialogue and to really have an insight into his world, then maybe play and really just chat with him. I don't want you to use questions. I want you to just give praises for little things that he does. Like if he's exploring his toys, then you might sit there and say, gosh, you're such a good explorer. And so I really want you to just take 5 or 10 minutes just to really connect with your child. Okay? So this is different, right? So this is different than giving warnings for transitions that are coming up as soon as you get home. This is not helping Billy to anticipate that he has to do homework. We're actually going to help Billy anticipate connecting with you. And so this is different because he's probably going to get really excited. And you're going to get really excited too because suddenly Billy wants to do it. And it's going to be awesome and amazing for both of you. So rather than across this school year, both of you having this sense of dread as you come home and having to do the whole evening routine, maybe you come home and you're really excited to be together. Now, what happens after that 5 or 10 minutes? Well, you've just really practiced honing in on all those special characteristics about your child, and they feel awesome. They have really de-stressed from their day at school. And so then maybe start in on your evening routine, and maybe even carrying over some of those skills you've already used, those praises. So then whenever they start to tackle that homework that might be a bit more difficult for them, you can start praising their perseverance. You can praise their creativity. You can praise asking for help before they have a tantrum. Little things like that. So that they're actually seeing it as a way to connect with you rather than it being a huge burden. So that is my little lunchtime learning video for today. I'm going to start having a few more of these. And so if you'd like to stay in the know, then go ahead and like my Facebook page. You can also learn more about me and my psychology practice at enildaclinic.com. And thank you so much for watching. Okay.